So good morning, everyone. We have just started the webinar. I'm going to give about 2 minutes for people to join, and then we are going to start. So for a minute or so, I'm going to mute myself. Hello, everyone. So we are 2 minutes past the start time, so I think it's a good time to start. I would like to welcome you all to the webinar. My name is Lucy Pankova. I'm the marketing manager for Nordics and Benelux, and I would like just to start with some housekeeping. So this webinar will be very interactive. We have 2 customers that you can see already from Lindab and from Henco with us. So please, if you have questions to our panelists or to our team from Autodesk, please put them in the chat. We will be monitoring the questions throughout the webinar, and we will be answering them as appropriate either during the conversation or at the very end. And with this, I would like to hand over to my colleague John for the introduction of the team.
Yes. Thank you, Lucy. Welcome, everybody, to this fireside chat, the PLM edition. Today, we will be discussing the potential benefits of having a PLM system. And we'll be discussing that with, as Lucy already introduced, the special guests from Lindab and Henco, Thomas and Jill. Together with Lee Dodds, we'll be moderating this conversation. We are very open to hear your questions in chat, and feel free to type any questions you have during the session. With that, I'm John Russian. I have been working at Autodesk for about 7 years. I'm responsible for the Benelux market regarding manufacturing. And Lee, if you would be so free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, John, and welcome everyone. So I'm Lee Dodds, and I'm part of the technical specialist team based in the UK. I haven't worked for Autodesk as long as John, been here just about 3 years, coming up to 3 years, and I have a technology focus around data and process management within design and manufacturing. So yes, we're really excited about today. This is a kind of a little bit of different for us, right? We're very lucky to be joined by 2 great customers. And with that, I'll hand over to Jill at Henco for a bit of an introduction.
Thank you, Lee. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jill. I am working, as already announced, for Henco Industries. I'm with Henco working for about 6 years now, and I'm responsible for product management and innovation within Henco. And next to that, I'm also involved in process optimizations and everything around that. Henco itself is a manufacturer of pipes and fittings for sanitary and heating installations, also underfloor heating. We are a Belgian-based company. Our production facilities and head offices are all located in Belgium, and we operate worldwide in more than 80 different countries. And perhaps interesting to know that we are also part of Aalberts Industries, which is a Dutch holding. Yeah, that's a short introduction from my side. So I think now it's up to Thomas.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Jill.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Tomáš Martinák. I've been working for Lindab for 11 years. My position is Group Quality Manager. And Lindab is a Swedish company. Headquarters are in Sweden, and we are a leading ventilation company. We are offering solutions for energy efficient ventilation and healthy indoor climate for our customers in Europe. Also in the Northern Europe, we have got a very extensive range of roof and rain line, rainwater and wall systems. In total, we are operating in 20 countries in Europe, and we are almost 5,000 co-workers altogether.
Thanks, Thomas. So yeah, thank you for those great introductions. And with that, then what we thought we'd do is give you a bit of a snapshot of, the technology that we're going to be discussing today. So all the questions that we're going to be putting forward to Thomas and Jill are regarding Autodesk's cloud PLM solution, which is Fusion 360 managed. So with that, I thought I'd give you a bit of introduction about, what the technology is all about, and some of the kind of core functionality of that. So with that, let me just show my screen and go into a quick 10-minute presentation. Okay, great. So what do we see out there in the market? And if you've ever seen any of the Autodesk presentations, we always start with the why, and I think that's very important. What we see out there is there's more pressure than ever, more pressure to save in the right format, give people access to the right information in the right location, involve people in what needs to be made available, and maybe remove data when it's revised from view. Some of the challenges that we see when dealing with other companies are that information tends to be stored in one area, maybe in one business system that is very good at its individual job, but that doesn't mean that everybody else has access to that. That can create things like data silos and process bottlenecks, but it can also lead to inadequate data sharing between different divisions within a company, maybe even different geographical locations, or even when you're working with your external parties like your customers, your suppliers, or maybe even different external industries. With that, then we see a lot of repetition of manual tasks, things like taking data and information and re-entering that data and information into other business systems, maybe looking for data and information, searching for that, or waiting for sign-off and approval, all inefficient tasks that we see out there in the market. And what that can lead to when we're speaking to different companies that are coming together to produce a product is that can lead to lots of different inefficiencies that can lead to problems later down the line. Problems like missing a product launch date, or maybe even missing a product cost that we've associated with that before it hits the market. It also leads to engineers spending way too much time on product development and doing things like inefficient tasks, maybe removing away from the time that they want to be doing for their core job, like designing, or maybe even, coming up with innovation ideas. With that, then, we introduce Cloud PLM, our solution to get around these inefficiencies within the business. Now, the nice thing about our solution is that it's built on next generation technology. And what we mean by that is it is a SaaS solution. So it is software as a service. It is a tenant-based or multi-tenant based application, which means then we can offer access to anybody from anywhere, from any device. We can offer a lower cost of ownership because we don't have to worry about IT infrastructure. We have an ease of use as well as an open web-based application, meaning we can build integrations between these other information silos or business systems, like an ERP system or a CRM system, for instance. And we're agile and dynamic, meaning that we can take your existing processes, we can build those existing processes within our technology, but almost use a templated system to get up and running fast. What does that look like? So let's give you a quick introduction of what that looks like. Now, it's important for us to be able to offer the right information to the right person at the right time. And we do that by creating a common data environment. Whether you're wanting to consume a bill of material, or maybe the latest change information, or maybe even inspect a design, if you have a marketing role, you can do that by searching a web-based application without the need for any additional software. We can also allow you to build smart processes and smart workflows. So intuitive forms allow you to design your own workflow using a templated system. This allows you to get up and running with some core use cases like change management, quality management, or maybe even product data relating to the bill of material. Here, then, we allow you to manage that, or maybe take on additional processes, something that might be traditionally managed in a Word document, or maybe even a spreadsheet. We can then guide users through the use of intuitive workflows. So what you see here is a sample workflow or sample process that we've enabled to a company around the area of maybe change management or quality management. We allow you to then configure and customize those workflows, creating actions along the way. Reminders, escalations are all just kind of part of what we offer in our workflow configuration tool. Now, we often get asked, does the system send email reminders? And yes, it does. But imagine if we could deliver then an outstanding work pane. So everyone was informed about what task they need to do, when they need to deliver it, and in a central location, so they can view what they need to do on a daily basis. Given access to information is kind of core of the product, and being able to make decisions based on how many projects we currently have running, maybe how many tasks are associated to an individual, allows teams of people to make decisions on whether we take on this project and how long is this project going to take. When you log into Fusion 360 Manage, you're presented with a number of dashboards contextual to your job role, whether you're involved in change management, quality management, or maybe even the product design process. You can view the information about, how many tasks do I have to complete today? How many projects do we actually have currently running in a development stage? What tasks do I need to complete within the next 3 months to stay on track to get this product out the door? To summarize then, Fusion 360 Manage allows us to target different areas of the product development process, everything from the initial design, conceptual design, maybe allocating a task to an individual to create a design, managing the output of that design, which could be a 3D deliverable, a bill of material, manage that design through its release process by building processes, and also then being able to report on those processes as well. And off the back of that, we're able to then automate certain tasks that happen in the background, like sending information downstream to other systems. Maybe we want to take that product data and send it to our procurement department to maybe order the parts we need to assemble that. With that, then, we enable you to get to market faster with the products you're designing. From everything from improving collaboration between different internal and external departments, improving your supply chain agility by allowing them access to the right information within your system, reducing time on non-value added tasks, those inefficient tasks that I talked about earlier, and maybe even streamlining the process of change and quality management. So with that, thanks for your time just there. And what we're going to do now is hand over to John, and we're going to start the round of questioning to Henco and Lindab.
Thanks, Lee. Good to get that brief summary of what PLM can achieve for our customers. Your presentation started off with the question why, and the main question always is, what are we solving? What are we addressing? And one of the core items in that list is reducing the amount of non-value activities. Now, Jill, you've worked together with Autodesk and our partners in order to complete a discovery survey to help uncover how much time the business was spending on non-value activities. How did the discovery survey contribute to the overall PLM project?
Yeah, that's correct, John. So basically, we did a discovery survey together with our implementation partner. It was a survey that we sent out to all kinds of departments, all different stakeholders within our company. And it was composed out of some general questions. And actually, the discovery survey was a good start for the project scope. And for us, it was also used to start to create awareness around the importance of a PLM tool. The result of that discovery for us, Henco, was that 21 hours per week were spent on non-value activities. So that's a lot. And although for sure, yeah, not all of those activities can be eliminated, we do have meetings that we will continue to have in the future as well, and other things, of course. But it was for sure an eye-opener for a lot of employees but also for our management team. And for sure, there it was very important, because then it made actually the entire investment and exercise on an analysis for a PLM easier.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jill. So it's interesting to know that, you know, your management were able to see the value of PLM because they were able to look at those results. Did you say 20 hours per person per week?
21 actually. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, fantastic. So Thomas, over to you then. I believe you also were involved in the discovery process. Can you share something about your experience?
Yes, I was involved, and I can confirm the number of non-added value time is, I would say, not surprising. It's even shocking. You know, in Lindab it was 19.5 hours, and if you take 40 hours time that you have available per week, then it's 50% of time people are doing something that it's not bringing any value to the company. And not only that, they are doing something that can end up in an error, because they are working in isolated ways and sharing information that can be misunderstood, and then you get something else as an output than expected. So from my point of view, the discovery survey was an extremely important step at the very beginning of the process. I can also confirm that it was an eye-opener for a lot of people. And moreover, I would say it is a very important step to actually create some kind of level of acceptance in the organization, because at the end of the day, you are going to introduce a change to people. You are now going to ask people who are used to work in some ways to accept that there are better ways how to address their activities, and that there's this PLM solution and environment that we would like to introduce. So having this survey in place helps a lot, because people understand that, yeah, we really have a problem, so let's address it by some solution.
Yeah, I think you made a very good point that with new solutions, there's a level of change that people need to adopt. And I believe, Jill, you're currently still in the startup phase of your PLM implementation. What approach are you taking to motivate your users to start working with these new systems?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that we focus a lot on the added value that the system might bring to the daily work of our employees, of my colleagues. I think that is for sure the most important thing. As said before, 21 hours per week came out of the survey for us as being spent on non-added value tasks. And our implementation partner convinced us that with the use of a PLM system, we could eliminate at least 8 hours of non-added value tasks per week. That means that 1 day per week can be saved by using a PLM tool, and that those hours can actually be used to important tasks. As we are a company that goes in a very quick pace, and time is precious, so this was and still is a very good argument to use within our company. Of course, implementing a new tool is quite a challenge. It's also what Thomas already said. You have to convince people to work with a different tool, although they are common to use in a particular way, and people tend to stick to the things they know, so it's easy to fall back into their old habits. So it's actually a matter of keeping up the awareness and being top of mind with PLM. So throughout each opportunity we have within the company, we put PLM as a solution of a way of working to get the job done more quickly, more efficiently. We always focus on the benefits of PLM for a specific person or a specific department, so we always tell them what's in it for them. So I think that is a very, very important one. Next to that, we also organize a lot of trainings. We ask around with people who are using the system if they manage to get everything done, if everything is clear, and we really make sure that PLM or that the PLM team, the implementation team, is available for support whenever needed, so that people also feel supported. And I think those are a few very important topics to address within those change projects, actually.
I think you raise a really good point, Jill. It's something that's often overlooked. We often concentrate on the benefits of the business, but the benefits to the individual or maybe even a department are very important. So that personal win element, you know, what's in it for them? What are they going to get out of it? Well, do you know that task that you hate that you do that takes you, 3 hours per week? Do you imagine if we could kind of eliminate in that? And I think it's it's a really great point to concentrate when we're talking about user acceptance. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. So Thomas, you own the quality processes at Lindab. How does Fusion 360 Manage allow you to build and, more importantly, customize and manage Lindab's quality processes to meet the company's requirements?
Yeah. Well, Jill mentioned that the system is helping to reduce the non-added value time. Me, as I see it from quality perspective, for me, even more important thing is to ensure that the outputs are free of errors. So what you get in, you get out in a predictable way. And that's one of the core strengths of the system, because we haven't started from scratch at Lindab. We have our processes described. We know what people should be doing. We have flow charts describing the steps, but these are like static pictures of our expectations. Where moving to the PLM, people can they can customize the flow as needed, depending on the particular process. And then the system takes over the control. So it's no more up to people and human to think about the next steps to be done. The system ensures that once we do a thing and we confirm that we are happy with what we did, it moves to the next step in a controllable way. So in this way, we ensure that people are acting at the right time. They also work with the right piece of information, because we are connecting the different processes in a way that the inputs are getting to the right point in the process, and we have an access to the right piece of information in the right revision. And as a consequence, at the end, we get a result that everyone is aware of, approved, and released in a controlled way. So I would say the system is controlling us, but at the same time, it's very flexible. So the team who is defining and designing the process has a freedom to do this. The system is not sold like, here it is and live with that. It is, of course, an out-of-box solution that we have as a baseline based off Autodesk experience. But then what we did, and we spent quite a lot of time with our partner, we were customizing the particular processes to fit our needs. So it can be a company from automotive, it can be a company from my area. Everyone can customize it to their needs and have the process to fit their particular industry.
And I think there's often a misconception that we need to maybe, use the processes that the system has, or we need to completely take our processes and put that into a system. But what you're saying there is you've used the templated processes and you've managed to adopt your processes to kind of meet in the middle, right? And again, you're able to build a process which guides a user into doing the right thing, the next step, which in turn will help with that user adoption.
I can imagine that when you have that documentation already on your processes, that whilst implementing and start rolling it out, then you maybe uncover that there might be even a faster or a smarter way to do things. Have you encountered that as well, where you tweak the process during the implementation or even further down the line, Thomas?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
So we touched on the fact that there's different processes in our PLM system that can be supported, or maybe even all, as opposed to many other PLM systems. The Fusion Manage platform allows you to start small and grow along the implementation road, which allows you to first pick the low-hanging fruit, so you can get your investment out and then start reaping the long-term benefits. Jill, how did you determine where to start with the implementations, and what challenges are you planning to address maybe next?
Yeah. Well, after the discovery survey and after that, we have decided to work with Fusion Manage together with the implementation partner. We actually organized some kind of, let's say, audit sessions with all our departments that were also invited to fill in the discovery session survey. So in those sessions, we went more into depth on the different topics and the challenges, the issues that reside within the different departments. So everything was mapped and brought into, let's say, a kind of summary. And those let's say those challenges were actually converted into opportunity. And those were mapped in 4 different domains. And then depending on the potential gain within each domain, it was fairly easy to define the priorities, because of course we started with the ones where was the most to gain. But it was actually due to the help of the implementation partner that we went into depth on the different domains, and then it was fairly easy to see where the biggest gains were to make. So that is how we
which domain did you choose to start off with?
We actually started with the NPI process. So for our, because we are really into innovation and product development, so we started with NPI process, and that is now up and running, or it's still in the startup phase. So it's very early to make any conclusions. But next to that, also a little bit of quality management already, and we actually just finished the definition of our change management process. So still a lot of things to come and to implement, but we are very positive on the way it's going until now.
Okay, great. For those not familiar with NPI as an acronym, that's the new product introductions. Yeah, no problem. Great, thanks.
Yeah, and Jill, by choosing new product introduction, did you find that you were able to span across multiple departments? So, everything from sales to engineering?
Yeah, absolutely. That was also one of our challenges within the company. So within the last few years, we expanded a lot, meaning a lot of new colleagues entered the company. And before that, there were only, let's say, a few people in each department. So a lot of knowledge was in the heads of people, but not really written down into workflows, etc. And a big issue, let's say, or something that we experienced, was that people did their job within their own department, but they lacked to look behind the wall, let's say. So they lacked to look the influence that they had on the next department. So and basically with PLM, we managed to really set up a workflow, more or less like Thomas already explained, to make it put in time, sequential, and everyone is informed. So we have set a workflow. We have defined a project team. So from each department, there is a team member within the project team. So everybody is informed. Everybody knows the progress of a certain project. And we really managed to make sure that everybody is involved and that we work cross-departmental instead of really working in boxes, let's say. So that is a huge benefit that we already experience now.
Great, thank you. So Jill, if you don't mind, there's actually been a question come in from the audience, and I think it's kind of appropriate for this chat. So the question is, Jill, how long per division will it take, and how quickly did you see the return on investment? Now, we know that you're in the startup phase, so that return on investment is difficult to calculate, but I guess the question is, how long would it take for your MPI, your change, your quality modules to be built?
So indeed, it's a bit too early to say what the return on investment will be, because we do actually need, let's say, a year of data to be actually sure to see what the return is. But looking back to the MPI development, of course, we did already some pre-work on defining the process, but then basically it was more or less like Thomas said. We managed to go into conversation with the consultants and see how we can find a match between what we have defined and what the system can, and make it a combination. I think the implementation itself took us, or the definition and implementation took us about 4 to 6 months, knowing that we spent 1 day per week working on it. So we really said from, okay, we have limited time, so our resources are 1 day per week. And that took us about 4 to 6 months. And then, of course, a lot of training. So we also invested in training together with the consultants from PLM, so that it's not only done by us. So that was also something that we wanted to stress on for our employees. And now we are up and running. So of course, motivating people is something that you constantly need to keep up, because otherwise it lacks. But next to that, it's yeah. And for the change management, it took us about 3 months. Yeah,
okay.
and those
That's
are the two processes that we have now implemented.
I think often when you hear, the terms business systems like PLM, people often think, right, these are 6-month, 18-month, 2-year projects, where what you've said there is by taking individual processes and working on those, and more importantly, working as a team, together with Autodesk, your implementation consultants and Henco, you're able to break that down and deliver a project in a more agile way. Great.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. And also important for us, we do have a roadmap, and we said, okay, the entire implementation of all the different modules is about 2 years, I think, out of the top of my mind. But we also said okay, if it takes a bit longer because resources are lacking, or because of some shifts, it doesn't really matter. We want to deliver quality instead of really pushing to the deadline. So I think that is also important, that we take our time to implement it correctly and qualitative, and not fast, or of course fast if we can, but I mean not fast compared to the quality.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that you're allocating resources and really focusing on, okay, we are spending 1 day a week because we don't want to lose too much momentum on our day-to-day business. And 3 months sounds like a long time, or 6 months, but if you allocate 1 day a week, that's 13 days, and you had your system up and running, which also allows you then to take a bit longer in the other processes that you want to implement, because you've already got some stuff up and running in the background, of course. Yeah,
correct.
Okay, great, thanks.
So Thomas, coming back to you. So last time we spoke, you mentioned that currently Fusion 360 Manage is your single source of truth for quality data. Do you mind telling us a bit more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, it's going back to what I mentioned earlier. People working in different silos with their own databases are, of course, they know what they're doing themselves, but then they are, of course, in a point where they need to decide and move their output to another team. And there we are getting into a risky situation, because usually the way how the piece of information is moved is an email, or they take it from one database to the other, and there is a risk connected to choosing wrong revision, or risk that they take completely different documents. There is a risk that they forget to send it, and then we get to the waiting time. So the PLM actually is the solution where people working in this environment, either directly or via interfaces that we were able to create, are actually connecting their data and themselves to the rest of the team, and the system is actually touching the right piece of information and ensures that it is the latest revision the people have access to. So this is the key from a quality management perspective, where the system ensures that people are not able to access a document or an input that is outdated. And the system ensures that as the process moves on, the data people are working with are accurate and up to date. So this is very important, of course, for me, because quality management is a lot about standardization. So having standardized processes that are guiding us, designed in a way that the information is getting to the right place at the right time in the right revision, is exactly what I need and what is the PLM ensuring for me.
You mentioned the word risk there, and I think that comes up a lot. Access to information or access to the wrong information could be a huge risk to a business. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. But in terms of having that single source of truth, part of that is being able to pull data and information from other business systems. So how did Fusion 360 Manage, with its open architecture, open API, allow you to build those connections to other business systems?
Yeah, as we started our PLM related activities in the field of quality management, we started with the very first era with the claim handling. And the claim handling is a process. We need to record the claim and then solve it via some industrial principles, AD approach, and so on. And of course, at the beginning, when we are to record a problem, then we can type it manually, or as we did, we were able to connect the PLM with our ERP system. So when a salesman visiting a customer directly on his premises saw a problem, he can enter a claim and connecting the PLM to the ERP, he types in the right information. The system is offering the right string to be chosen, so we don't mistype or misinterpret what we are dealing with. So that's one thing, connecting PLM with our ERP system. The second thing, as I mentioned, the salesperson can record a problem directly when he's with customer. He doesn't need to wait when he's back home and recording it into his own local database. So either the salesperson can be connected directly in the PLM system, or we created a web portal access. So via this web portal, anyone in our Lindab master address group can access and record a problem, and then the communication then with the PLM is done automatically, and the process then continues in the PLM. So these are the two exact examples that we have already introduced and that are up and running for our claim handling process. Recently, we are starting to introduce a quality inspection planning module and internal non-conformances or non-conformities. Again, we need to be connected to our ERP. We need to be connected to our asset management module. So when we are creating, for example, an FMEA, we know to which process and area it is valid, and the system is talking to the users. So if they create an FMEA, they don't need to start from scratch every time. It offers them options because there are already FMEAs available for certain process steps. So we can utilize the work already done. So that's another example. And the last one we are thinking about now to introduce in a short term is supplier management module. So again, it will require a portal where we will do our part and then invite our supplier to join us. So again, no more emails and Excel files or PDFs. The supplier will get a notification, will access directly the right part of the system, fill in their information, upload it back, and we can continue the work. So people connected even outside Lindab organization.
Fantastic. And that actually leads me on to another question that came in. It's like, so the question is for both Jill and Thomas, have you already included your supply chain workflows / processes to include external suppliers? So I think, Thomas, what you've just said is this is next on your roadmap, right? Great.
Yes.
And Jill, you're not doing that just yet? Is it a plan maybe?
We didn't take it in the first scope, but it's something that is definitely in the back of our minds to take a look at when we are fully working with PLM. So not for now, but we are looking into it for the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So the area where you're focused on the most now is the new product introductions.
Yeah.
Can you maybe tell us a bit more about the processes you're managing with Fusion 360 Manage in the area of new product introductions?
Yeah, so a bit like I already said. So we had developed, or we had let's say a rough process in place already, and together with the consultants, we actually build it around what is possible in PLM. So we find a perfect fit there in between our process and what is possible. For each project, we then define a team consisting out of all departments so that everybody is aware of the project and its progress. Product management is appointed always as a project leader, so that means they are basically in charge of the progress of the project. So we have defined different phases in the NPI process, and depending on the different phase, there are also different tasks appointed to different people. So we basically have a list of all the tasks that might be occurring within an NPI process. and it's the team actually that decides together whether or not those tasks are applicable for that specific project or not. And then there is a follow-up, and then actually it's very clear by means of the outstanding work, as Lee mentioned in his presentation earlier. Then you can see, okay, I have to put priority on that project because those tasks are due, and it's really very clear to follow up a timeline on the progress of the project. Each team member can then, of course, see the project, and the project leader is held responsible to follow up and see that the deadlines are met. Although, of course, it is a team effort. So basically, we make a full team responsible for meeting the deadlines, and there is no finger pointing anymore because that department is late or that department is late, because basically it's a team effort. And that is also a very big change within our company. Yeah,
I can imagine that it changes a lot, where you used to be driven by the last email that just came in, and you prioritize on resolving that instead of having a great list of priorities to focus on. One of the things that I wanted to reach back on with what Thomas said with the single source of truth, I think this is also for many other companies, it's the source of truth that we're looking at. People still use the point solutions that are best in class for their specific jobs, like CRM and ERP and CAD systems and whatnot. But where the data is pulled and how the data is shared between those systems, I think that is where PLM comes in and addresses some of those challenges, and also fills the gap for processes that are currently managed with Excel spreadsheets and emails and shared file servers and whatnot. So as a roundup, the question to the both of you: what tips and tricks or advice would you give to other companies who are looking to start with their own PLM project? And perhaps Jill, you could start off with that one.
Sure. Let me think. Of course, it's very important to involve a lot of different departments and a lot of different people. So it's not a decision of just one person or one department. It is really cross-functional and cross-departmental. And I think that is important to keep in mind when you are looking for a PLM solution, that you take it cross-departmental and involve a lot of people and not just a single person's decision. And next to that, I think to also make sure that when you start with the PLM process, make sure to invest a lot in training, keep the awareness high, and motivate people on using the tool. What's in it for them, it's always a very important one. So I think those are a few tips and tricks that are very useful for us, and also might be useful for anyone else, I think.
To add a few more from my experience, as we touched this already, the survey is definitely a very good step to start with, because first of all, it's an eye-opener. Second, you will make an atmosphere where people understand why they should change things that they are doing. It's measurable. It's not a feeling, it's a measurable output, showing them, you are losing 50% of your time doing something that's not adding value. Moreover, you can make mistakes, and the survey is structured in areas so people know if it's the NPI or quality management or supplier management that is the key focus for the particular company. So that's definitely the very first step I really strongly suggest to be taken. Then, of course, it's important to involve, as you mentioned, Jill, all the people who should participate actively in the project, including the top management. It is very important that it's not driven bottom up, but top down, at least at the very beginning. The management needs to be aligned with this vision and with the wish to use this tool, because then it's another input for the organization to understand and accept that this is the tool, this is the environment we are going to use, and this is becoming the new way how we work in the organization. The next thing from my experience is that, of course, it's a tool that requires IT resources. So that's where we were struggling a bit to get the proper IT support. It's nothing, it's not like a rocket science. On the other hand, you just need to have someone who is able to run JavaScripting and all the scripts that are helping you. Actually, when we speak about PLM is doing this for you and is driving this for you, it means that you need to have scripts in the background that are triggered in the right point of time and do what you are expecting. So definitely, of course, me as a quality guy, I am not able to do that. So you need an IT resource. Of course, we have the partner who is helping us, but to have a flexibility, the IT support is a must. Yeah,
Great.
so that's probably it from my side.
Yeah, and I think it's important to ask that question on, you know, there's hopefully people on the audience who are considering a PLM project or maybe are about to take on a PLM project, and hearing direct from, you know, somebody who is up and running and somebody who is, you know, about to go live with some, you know, quite complex processes. I think it's really valuable. So you've mentioned, you know, adoption, which individuals to have involved, everyone from IT. Jill, you mentioned as well, going wider in the business. Thomas, you mentioned, you know, going higher in the business and making sure we get that buy-in. So yeah, some great experiences, and thank you for being open and honest and sharing those. I know the Autodesk Discovery Survey has been mentioned a couple of times. I would say to anybody on the attending, feel free to reach out direct, and you know, we can share what that's all about as well and give you a bit more information on that Discovery Survey.
Yep. I think that could be where everything starts. So if you're an individual contributor or in middle management or senior management, and you would like to get some support on, you know, uncovering whether PLM would be a good solution for your company, please reach out to your Autodesk partner or Autodesk itself to see how we might be able to support you to uncover, you know, the potential benefit of PLM. We're happy to support that.
Great. And we're at the end of the questioning for Thomas and Jill, but what we'd like to do now is open up to the audience. If you do have any additional questions, whether that be, you know, for Thomas or Jill, or maybe even for myself and John, we do like to be challenged. This is my favorite bit of any webinar, the questions. So feel free to put them in there. And yeah, hopefully we can answer for them live, or if not, we can follow up with you.
Yeah, I see some nice feedback, or we all see now the people on the panel coming through. Thank you very much for that. But if you have any more questions right now, please pop them in the chat so we can ask directly Thomas or Jill on the spot.
Yeah, or if you are interested to visit Lindab to see what we are doing, feel free, because the more people get connected, the more we can get out of the solution, because it's all about the ideas and how things should work. And yeah, the system is as good as you design it and define the ways how it should work. So the more people talk about it, the more ideas are coming, and the better the processes can be. So if you would like to see some more detailed information about how the experience is, at least at Lindab, feel free to contact me or via Autodesk, and no problem to organize a visit or a video that could be a bit more specific. As I mentioned, at the moment it's more quality in Lindab. Jill, it's more NPI, so I believe we can benefit, all of us, if we stay connected.
That is super kind of you, Thomas, to offer this, I think, to all on the webinar and who will maybe listen later.
Yeah, great. So we've got a couple of questions in. One of them I will follow up with after the webinar, but one of them is a question for both of you, is how happy are your employees using the tool? So it's a very open question, but are they seeing the benefit is the question.
Yeah, well, if I start, the way how we decided to implement this solution with our partner is we have a working area where we are developing the processes and fine-tuning them, debugging them before we release them to live environment. So then we avoid kind of frustration if people are hitting too many obstacles by trying to type in something and it doesn't work. So that was the way how we avoided that. There are a few pieces of information coming back from here and there regarding some functionalities that are not working, but we are really flexible, fixing them and improving the process. So generally speaking, the team who is working with the new solution is happy, because it is definitely much more flexible and much more visual what they are expected to do, what in what stage the particular process is, comparing to the solution we had before. So for me, it is a very quick answer. Yes, the team is happy, and moreover, they have an opportunity to influence the way how the process works. So that may be one more message. Don't be afraid of mistakes, because mistakes are part of our lives. So if something is not working as expected, it can happen. We design something and we think that it will be perfect solution, but then we realize that, yeah, it might be a bit different. Maybe we should change. And we do it. The system is so flexible and so easy to adjust. So we do it, and people get what they need and want, of course, if it's approved as a valid request.
Yeah, and do you require any external consultants to change those processes, or are you mainly managing that yourselves?
That's getting back to what I mentioned regarding the IT support. Our IT is extremely overloaded. We are now transferring our ERP to a different version. So I am using our partner at this moment, but at the end of the day, it is about the JavaScripting and nothing more. It's
okay.
rather easy, but you need to have the resource, of course.
Yeah, so that's around the actual scripting of connections and data transport between two systems. But if you're trying to reconfigure a process, would that be something that you require a consultant for as well, or would that be something?
Once you get the training, then the architecture, the way how the workspace looks like, and how the flow is, you can do that alone internally.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I can only add up to what Thomas was saying. So basically, I do not have a lot of things to add, because indeed our experiences are exactly the same as what Thomas mentioned. So yeah.
Okay, great. So we got no more questions coming in. So with that, I think we can wrap up, unless anybody has anything they wanna say or add. Feel free to add it into the chat or into the questions. But if not, then feel free to reach out directly to myself, John, Lucy, and hopefully we can answer those questions.
Maybe I would just add that once you all exit the webinar, there is a very short survey of 3 questions, and I would be very grateful if you would fill them in. It's very, very brief. Thank you so much in advance.
All right, then with that, I would like to extend my gratitude to Thomas and Jill for joining us during this fireside chat. I hope it was valuable for all joining us here. And we'll see you next time around.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.